Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today I am doing a journal with me, but I'm going to be using my Felicity Jane kits to create this journal with me. And so this is a brand new journal. This is the first ever page that I'm doing in this journal. This is my Get Messy Season of Steven art journal, and so I made a faux art altered book journal for this season. You're supposed to use an altered book, but I don't really like using altered books. Generally, when I do use an altered book, I gut out all the pages anyway, and so I made my own altered book for this, and so I have all my papers in here. And so the kind of page spread that I'm using is a vintage book paper on one side, and on the other side is some Felicity Jane cardstock in like this very pretty mauve pink color. And what I'm doing is using the Felicity Jane Gabby kits. There's this beautiful floral paper, and I've fussy cutted some of the florals, and I'll be using those as my main bits here. And so I'm kind of merging my Felicity Jane stuff in with my art journaling stuff, and this was an experiment, so yeah. And so what I did was first I just applied a little bit of golden paint, acrylic paint in the Payne's gray color there with my brush, and I kind of did it dry brush, and then I used my Liquitex ink in the black, in the carbon black, and just added a bunch of splatters which took forever to dry. And now I am playing around with the florals that I fussy cut. I do go ahead and add a little bit of paint splatters to that pink page. The paint splatters here, okay, so the ink splatters, I just did like straight ink from the Liquitex little thing. These paint splatters on the other side were from my brush when I dipped it into water, and so that the paper kind of soaked it up, so it wasn't as sharp, but you'll see what I do to kind of fix it a little bit. But I did that first, and then I glued down one of the floral pieces that I fussy cutted from the Felicity Jane paper there. I love these florals. I've been fussy cutting them from that sheet like, oh my god, like a mad woman, and using them on like all my projects because they're so pretty. And they're a pain to fussy cut, and if you know me, I hate fussy cutting, but I love how it looks in the end. So I glued that down, and I'm gluing down like the leaves, like so. On the sheet of paper, there's some leaves that aren't really connected, and so I'm gluing those back down into like the position that they were in. So yeah, that was the major thing for this, was the fussy cutting. And so I actually filmed this video while I was on a lovely Zoom call. I just kind of put my camera on and just left it and just worked and chatted with some ladies on the Zoom call, and so I was actually showing them what I was doing, like what I was up to. And so that kind of smeared the paint a little bit, and so you'll see here that I kind of dabbed some of that ink that kind of ran, because like I said, that ink took forever to dry and it just kind of pooled there. But it's okay, because I end up covering that section. Honestly, the whole Payne's gray paint thing didn't turn out the way that I saw it in my head, and so, but it's fine because I end up covering it up anyway. And so here I'm taking a Neocolor crayon. These are the water soluble ones, and I'm just adding a few more dots to that side, and you'll see that I take my water brush and do go over it just a little bit. I did not like how it looked when I took the water brush. It looked too much like watercolor, and that wasn't my intention. I kind of wanted it to be like really inky. And so I grabbed my Liquitex ink again, and I'm adding some more splatters to that side. Those splatters actually seep in, so I don't know what it is with the Felicity Jane cardstock, but it kind of absorbs the liquid, whereas the vintage book paper, the ink just kind of sat on the surface. But you'll see what I end up doing on that other side to make the dots stand out a little bit more. And so what I did here, I took a small doily, white doily, to cover up most of that paint because I didn't like how it was looking, and I layered another flower over it. So my intention was to put the flower on that corner, but it needed something behind it to soften it up a little bit, and so I added a doily. And I didn't glue everything down quite yet because that paint was still a little dry, the ink was a little dry. But I did go and take my carbon black, I think it's a charcoal pencil, and added some scribbles everywhere, so you'll see I added some scribbles. And now I'm looking at my Felicity Jane alphas, trying to figure out which alpha to use. And so I ended up using the alpha from the Gabby kits, which is the current kit, to write out my, I guess, title, my little quote here. And so my Steven for the season of Steven is Susanna Conway. I've mentioned her a million times before on my channel for like everything. I'm really inspired by her, and for the season of Steven, we were supposed to like choose a muse, but not a fellow artist, like not a fellow visual artist, I guess you could say. She is a photographer, but it's very different from art and painting and art journaling. And so I decided to choose her, and I've been referring back to her This I Know book, as well as her newsletters and her blog and anything that she's written, and just pulling quotes from her written work. And so this quote that I'm spelling out with these little mini alphas is from her book This I Know, and I believe it's like in this, it's towards the beginning. I think it's the exercise section of chapter 1 is where I saw it, and it's basically the quote is, "We do survive and then we thrive." I really liked that. I liked it paired up with the florals, because these florals look very vibrant and they look that they're growing and they're thriving, and I thought that was a very good visual for this particular quote that I pulled out from her book. So I decided to go with this quote, and so I'm using they're kind of like a dark teal bluish kind of oceany color alpha, and I spelled out "We do survive" and then "we." And then my intention was to use these alphas from the Amanda kit to spell out thrive. My initial alpha choice was the ones from Tori, these blue ones, these like light minty blue ones, but I didn't have an R. What I ended up doing is replacing the Amanda ones, because the black sort of kind of melted in with the art that I had there. It just kind of disappeared. These stick out a little bit, and so what I ended up doing was taking an N and just cutting it into an R. And it worked. You would have never known that hadn't I just told you. But I wanted thrive to be over there, because something needed to be over there to sort of like ground the two. And so I have the we do survive and then we thrive on the other side. But what I ended up doing is repositioning the we so that it's we thrive on the other side, and then doing the and then adding what is those ellipse dots there, so that you know that you have to go to the other side to finish the little quote. And that's just to tie in both pages, because I think the pink background with the book pages kind of made it a little disconnected, even though I had the same floral there. But I did want the sentiment to be on both pages. And so here you see that I struggle so bad with trying to line up the alphas. I am terrible at lining up thickers and alphas and stuff like that. And so I'm trying to use this little mini ruler to kind of straighten them out. I think I did my best. I don't know. It's fine for an art journal, And so that's what I do. And, getting it centered and making it look good. I struggled with it, but I think it's fine what I ended up coming up with. And so to make those little splatters a little bit darker, I took my Kuretake brush pen. This is the exact same brush pen that Caylee uses for her brush lettering all the time, especially in the Season of Steven lesson. It's the same pen. I bought it when we did a Get Messy meetup in New York, because why not buy things that Caylee uses, It's just have to. And I love it. I love using it. It's such a deep, rich black ink. And so what I'm doing is I'm just kind of filling in some of the circles that are already there on the page and adding a few more little dots. And this is just to add those darker dots to that side, because that paper kind of soaked up all the ink. And so I do that on both pages because I just want to add more dots, and that's about it. I'm trimming off the excess of the doily there, and that is my spread here. I really hope you all enjoyed this journal with me. Great to be back filming things for you, and yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!